welcome to the Service Operations Podcast. I am your host, 𝗪𝗲𝗀. Our guests are from different industries and functions. They will share their experience, strategies, and the changing landscape to help you take the service operations of your business to the next level. Hi Rishi, welcome to the Service Operations Podcast. For a brief introduction to our listeners, so Rishi was a core salesperson. That's how he started his career. He was doing different roles in different companies for about 7 years, and after which he moved a bit to his family business as well as to training and consulting. Now, training and consulting is logical. Many people, after a few years in the corporate world, want to do that. Even though in Rishi's case it was a bit early. But what is more interesting is his focus areas. Over to you, Rishi. You can tell us about why you chose that particular area, why you moved from corporate to that particular area, and a little bit more about your initial journey.
So thank you, ma'am. First, so much for the opportunity. It's really an honor interacting with you. And so as you rightly said, I was with a couple of corporates. I was with ICICI Bank and then Bajaj Finance. I was heading Bombay also for ICICI Bank personal loan, and then Bajaj Finance personal loan. I was an area head. And in 2011, I got blessed with a daughter. And the moment I held my daughter, right inside the hospital, the first moment I held my daughter, a thought came to my mind that what do you give this girl beyond money? And that thought stuck in my mind, and I couldn't find an answer. And I used that question started to haunt me. It genuinely started to haunt me, every day, every moment. And after 6 8 months, thought came to me, finally, which was convincing for me that I want to give a belief system to my children, that that they can chase their dream. And so that's what I want, that they should believe in themselves, that whatever they dream, whatever they think, they can chase their dream. But then another thought came is like, if I'm still in corporate, and this is purely for me, okay, no for no other person or listener. So another thought was like, my daughter would have told me, when she's grown up, dad, you're telling me to chase my dream, what was your dream? And ma'am, genuinely had no dream at that time. I genuinely had no dream at that time. So I quit my job without having any plan, any thoughts, nothing. I didn't even tell my family, I didn't tell my wife, that I've quit my job. For those 3 months notice period, I just used to go to Bajaj, fulfill my notice period, come back home and everything. And then after the notice period got over, I told my wife that, this is why I've quit my job. And if you tell me that, Rishi, it's gonna be a tough journey and you don't want to be, going to the bumpy ride, I'll take my job back. My manager told me rethink, so I can take my job back. But then probably if we cannot take this step, probably will not pass on the confidence to our children. Probably my our children will also not do something different, even if they want to do something different, because
Yeah.
we couldn't take that step. So I said, and today at that time I was 30. So I said, today age, energy, everything is on our side. So let us take a leap of faith and let us do. So then I said, because what happened now, ma'am, for me it would have been easy, because in my frame of mind, I was comfortable thinking to do something. But it becomes tough for the lady at home, where voluntary husband doesn't want to earn, and where he was earning good amount of money, foreign trips were happening, incentives were there, bonus were there, everything was there. So I told her, I just need your support. If you can support me, I'll pull it off. What, when, where, how, I have no clue. I have no answers to your questions right now. बट कहते हैं ना, वो इंडिया में जो औरत होती है दुर्गा होती है बस. तो शी वाज शी इज fearless. She said, let's do it. And then I told my parents, and my father said, till the time you don't figure out, why don't you join a family business? I said, fair enough, I'll do that. I joined the family business, but I had zero interest over that. I couldn't even understand the simple work, because that was not my focus. And I was getting haunted by the question, what are you supposed to do? What is, what are you expect, what is your dream? What are you supposed to do? It was a 2 year of a journey, where I had emotional down, what you call breakdown was there. Physically, I was unfit. I was getting haunted. I was depressed. I was feeling frustrated. Everything. But then I always told myself that, Rishi, this is probably the test of time and God. Don't give up. Just keep thinking. Probably, it's not that easy what you're thinking to do. And then one day, my dad in fact sent me to meet a client at Vashi. There's a place in outskirts of Mumbai.
Okay.
So over there he sent me. So I went over there, and the client said that, Rishi, because of some emergency, I had to go to town. So is it okay, if you come back tomorrow, or you can just wait 2 hours, I'll come back. So I said, sir, I've come all the way from Bhiwandi. It's okay. I'll wait for you. I'll just kill time over here. So I went to a mall over there, like in orbit mall over there, and there I went to Crossword. And somehow, ma'am, for the first time in my life, I got attracted to a Bhagavad Gita CD. I have no clue why I got attracted. Till date, I have no clue. And I'm not an impulse buyer. If I like anything, I'll never buy because I know a lot of time it's a waste
Oh.
of money. So I don't know, but I just couldn't stop myself. And I went to the person over there at the counter. I said, it was Anup Jalota's Bhagavad Gita. So I asked him, ये हिंदी में है or is it in Sanskrit or what is it? He said, sir, I have no clue. It has just arrived. I said, okay, give it to me, whatever it is. I just couldn't stop myself from buying it. I said, give it to me. And then I started hearing Bhagavad Gita every day while going from Powai to Bhiwandi to my dad's and my brother's business and coming back. Every day I used to hear the entire CD, and I heard that CD for at least 8 9 months. So the entire the Bhagavad Gita crux settled in my mind. I could start singing the
Relating.
relating and start singing the verses that he was singing and everything.
Hmm.
And then one night, the middle of the night, around 3:30, I got up with the thought: get into Indian epics, get into Indian mythology, as it's popularly called. And that is where I don't know. I felt that yes, this is what I want to do, and that is where I took a leap of faith. And then I told my dad, my family, my wife that now I'm sure what I want to do. But you'll have to give me a year to prepare because I cannot just go on stage. I need to read. So then I read a couple of concise versions of Shiv Puran, Vishnu Puran, Bhagavatam Puran, multiple versions of Mahabharata, Ramayana, Tulsidas's Ramayana, Maharishi Vedvas Ramayana, multiple books. And then I started attending a lot of sessions by a lot of people who were taking sessions on Indian epics. So it could be Guru Gaur Gopal Das. I met him one to one. Sadgurus. I even attended 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 similarity between the Veda, the Puranas, and the stories of Indian epics to the 21st century. It's quite relevant today also. It is just that we have not seen it from that perspective. Then another year I spent in preparing modules. So 2 years technically I did nothing at that time. I was just reading and preparing modules. I wanted to be very sure, because the moment you go on stage, so I can tell a person I don't know once. I can tell a person I don't know twice. I cannot say every time. So I wanted to be very sure that little bit knowledge I have, so that when I'm on stage, that I just justify what I'm intend to say. So that is how the journey started. So 2015 is when I started taking sessions purely based on Indian epics.
Okay,
So that
okay,
is how it's been like 6 7
okay.
years now.
Very interesting and a lot of risk taking. That's like,
uh,
it's different. It requires a bit of courage to do that. And of course, family support is always,
yes, yes, yes,
welcome.
yes.
Okay, okay.
So
Uh,
my
so I
understanding is,
just,
ma'am, my understanding is overthinking leads to paralysis. So I just don't overthink.
yeah,
I think if the
yeah,
thought has come, just go with the flow.
just
And as
go.
you
I
rightly said,
know.
once the family is there with you, then you can conquer
Yeah,
the world.
yeah. Yeah, so it's very extremely interesting. Okay, so but the question that's coming to my mind now is that how did you put the training and consulting piece to this, to the knowledge and information that you got from these epics, and this side? Because in normal thinking, when you're in the corporate world, at a personal level, yes, we believe in a lot of things, but to
Correct.
bring them into what work we do,
Correct.
that's a different game. So just
Correct.
tell us how how that connection happened, and then how you went about it.
Correct. So first thing what happened now, to be honest, when I approached all the corporates that this is what I want to do, I want to take sessions based on Indian epics and all. So they all rejected me. They were like, this is not happening, because we cannot get all these talks on a platform where people who have different belief. We
Hmm.
just can't do it. We cannot risk the entire stage.
Yeah.
And they were right from their perspective, and I had some idea that I would face resistance, but I was still sure about that this is what I wanted to do. Because what happened is, if it was easy, then everyone would have done it. So that was the first thought in my mind. Okay, Rishi, if it had been that easy, now everyone would be doing it. So then a friend of mine, 𝗵𝗱𝗱𝗍𝗶, a college friend of mine at that time, was working with Lupin, he gave me a nice idea. He said, do one thing. You take regular trainings, communication, decision making, negotiation, team management,
The
motivation, and all.
regular, huh?
Take a regular training. Don't even don't even pitch about Indian epics. Get an entry into an organization first. Work with them. And then probably you can look at the audience, then give one or two examples over there, look at the feeler, look at the feedback that you get. The client needs to have a lot of confidence in you before they give you that platform. It's not going
Hmm.
to be that easy. So I said that really made sense to me. So then I started pitching regular. I brushed up my studies and everything on regular workshop, and then I started getting work. And then after a year or two, when I started sharing one or two examples, I looked at the crowd. I was sure, that it would be comfortable over here. And that is how it started. So honestly, I wanted to start in 2015, taking trainings, but my actual trainings that started full-fledged were 2019.
Oh,
So
is
from
it?
2015 to 2019, I would, barely take 2, 3 sessions in a year. That's it, in a year. But I
Oh.
was still focused. So, but my concept, my all my social media, everything was webbed across only Indian epics, because I was sure eventually I have to believe in something. I need to be persistent, and then I will get the reward. It was very
Hmm.
easy for me to get distracted. So most of my posts, like we are connected on social media also, you'll not see any of my posts which is not
Not,
related to Indian
yeah,
epics. I,
that's
I
true.
will never do that. I will never do that, because I was sure in
Yeah,
the long run I have to come up, as a person that they
yeah,
can associate with. So that was
yeah.
one thing very clear in my mind. But then 2019 is when I think the ball started to turn, because by that time I had a lot of corporates, clients, and all, and somehow they started to believe that, okay, let's give this guy a chance. So I got a 1 hour talk, then a 2 hour talk, then I started getting three day sessions, two days full day
Okay,
sessions. A
okay.
lot of channel partners started to believe in me, a lot of training companies started to believe in me. And what happened is that, because used to go to plants, I used to go to a lot of plants, for various corporates. I used to go to the interior of India. Now
Hmm.
over there, obviously, when you talk about Steve Jobs, or when you talk about Bill Gates and all,
Yeah, it doesn't
there's
relate.
no connect. There's no
Hmm.
connect. And then I started talking about Indian epics, and that is where I thought, people started to found that, all the examples and all. Now coming back, so I do a lot of deep thinking, analysis before I pitch any example, any quote, because of my experience that I have in corporate. And I, though I'm talking here, but I'm a great listener also, and I'm a great, that's what I believe. I like to believe, and I'm really good at observing what is happening around me. Then I started relating a lot of things, and eventually, ma'am, I became a storyteller. So then I say stories. So now the stories could be from any aspect. So now when a participant asks me a question, I never give them a direct answer that this is what you're supposed to do. The reason is I genuinely believe no trainer can do that, and no trainer should do that, because what happened, the participant would feel, Rishi, first you join my company, you handle my manager, you understand my challenges, then you tell me what to do. I'm not in the position. But what I do is I take a story which will give him or her, the platform to visualize the entire story, and
Hmm.
then make a judgment call, what is right, what is wrong. So
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
pure storyteller.
Yeah, actually, it's about finding your own solutions. Okay,
Correct,
you just need a little bit of connection or trigger.
correct,
That's how neuroscience works, right?
correct,
So
correct,
you just
correct,
need to, give a connection or a direction. And what I'm also understanding you say is it's all about, it's not about belief as in, the faith that you believe in. It is about, I think, epics and these great stories, if you just might call them stories, kind of believe in, are all got to do with values. They've
correct,
got to do with principles. So
correct,
eventually, I think that's what your base
correct,
would be, to be able to take
correct,
them in that
correct,
direction. Yeah,
correct.
yeah, that's
So,
good. Yeah.
so as you rightly said, na ma'am. So in a couple of my friends keep asking me, Rishi, don't you face any resistance? When you travel, you don't know the crowd. There are 500 people
Yeah.
sitting, 1,000 people sitting, or in a room of 30 people. You don't know their belief. You don't know anything. So
Hmm.
what has happened is that, ma'am, there are two things that I'm very careful about. First is I always start all my sessions with a disclaimer. All my sessions, I start with a fixed disclaimer, and the disclaimer goes something like this: that I'm not promoting any religion, thought process,
Yeah,
religion
that's
belief. It is
important. Yeah,
just
yeah,
for understanding expression purpose. You believe
yeah.
Rama exists, Rama exists. You believe Rama does not exist, Rama does not exist. Whatever you believe stands true. I believe Rama exists. In case you believe Rama does not exist, I'm sure we both can coexist. There's a story, there's a learning. We'll focus on the learning rather than the factual part of it. And ma'am, I've realized that, honestly, I'm telling you, this has been my experience. I would have interacted more than 30,000 participants, ma'am, in India. I've
Okay.
traveled to more than 50 cities in India delivering talks on this. I've never faced any objection, because
Hmm.
till the time I believe your intention is honestly just to share the learning now, everyone will accept it. It boils down to your intention. I don't go on stage and start, preaching about a particular.
Yeah.
There are non-Hindus who have given me a lot of work in the organization because they have
Yeah.
understood that I do not get into the religious aspect. I just take the story and the learning.
Yeah.
And what has happened now, ma'am, in India, we all come from the land of storytellers. So when we were kids, our grandparents used to tell us stories. There are parents, there are teachers, there are college teachers. Then Bollywood is there. We all are surrounded by stories, and whichever, whatever your belief is, everyone has heard the story of Ramayana and Mahabharata. Everyone is aware of, Bhagwan Vishnu,
Yeah, at
Shiva,
least
Brahma.
broadly. At
Broadly,
least
they're aware of it.
broadly.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
right.
not an alien name for them. So when you
No,
talk, they're
no.
aware of it. So I've been to Jammu, I've been to Kerala, I've been to Nagaland, I've been to Jharkhand, I've been to Gujarat, I've been to UP, MP, Bihar. Wherever you say I've been there, and people listen. People listen. A lot of time, the HR would tell me, "Dekh ke karna." I said, "Yeah, don't worry." And when I say the disclaimer, everyone starts laughing, enjoying, and then they understand, okay, it's just going to be a story and nothing about it. So that is what I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So long as you keep a, fairly safe distance
Yeah.
and you're not pushing your thoughts on people, I think it works fine,
Yes.
because whether, the story is with A as a character or B as a,
Yes. Yes.
hero,
It doesn't
I mean,
make a
it's
difference.
okay, Talk about service operations in particular. It mainly, the managers or the people who are really dealing with this are dealing with people on
Correct.
one side. They are dealing with the company's processes and products on the other side, and they have a third element who is a customer. So there is a customer, there is people who are interacting with the customer, or who are doing things, or managing teams who deal with customers, and there is the company which has its overall strategy in place. So now just tell me, how would you, with your background and what you teach, how would you tie these three in together?
So one you said is a customer. I'll just jot it down. Second you
Yeah.
said is a
Is the
uh,
people who deal with the
employee.
customer,
So
employee.
let's say
Yeah. Okay.
employee is there, and third is the strategy.
The strategy, the company strategy, the company intention.
Correct, correct. Company intention. Now, okay. Now I'll tell you over here. Now, I honestly believe, and this is my firm belief, that our ancestors were brilliant. They were absolute genius. What they've done is they have, they've converted all the learnings in a story format and passed on to us. But unfortunately, a lot of people get stuck to the story rather than the learning. Now, why do I get into, why do I read these books and why do I share? Because every situation that we are going through, there is a solution in the book. There is a
Hmm.
solution. There's 100% a solution. It
Yeah.
is just that I need to dig to that, dig deeper to get to that story and understand. And the beauty of those stories are, it actually gives you the direction that if you select this option, this is what has happened in the past. If you select Y option, this is what has happened. So it actually gives you an idea, not only for the particular moment what should I do, but it also helps me to understand the consequence that I'm gonna get into it.
Yeah, that's
So
important.
that's very
That's
beautiful.
important.
That's very important. So a lot of time my decision making has become simpler for me because I understand it really helps. Now coming to your questions, so if you look at any aspect, so let's say for example, we'll take two three examples over here to understand. So
Sure.
there's a customer, there's an employee, and there's a strategy. Okay, so let's say there are three things. So over here, when in Ramayana, okay, in Ramayana, when Sita Maya gets kidnapped by Ravan, okay, and finally they come to know that Sita is missing and all those things, and then they start going in search of Sita. Bhagwan Ram and Bhagwan Lakshman, they both go in search of Sita Maya, and finally they meet Hanuman, Sugriv. There's a pact is there. They kill Bali and all, and then everything goes. Now the beauty is over here.
It's very interesting, it's all about the learnings, is what you said, and the principles and values that we're talking about. So now
Correct.
just tell me, all the deep reading and understanding that you have done, now let's just relate it to to the corporate world. Okay, in service operations there are three broad elements. Okay, elements, when I say there are three broad groups, we might call it. Okay, so one is the customer. He is the center of all that we do. The
Hmm.
second are the people who work for the customer directly or indirectly. Either they may be directly interacting, or they may be making processes, products, etc. for the customer. And the third is the overall strategy of the company, because that's what holds all the employees, and that gives direction. So now
Correct.
just tell me, how does mythology and
Hmm.
all this learning apply to this world of
Correct.
corporate, customer, and the people in the company?
So what my understanding is, so we can look at three aspects. There's a strategy. There's a, let's say, team member. Okay,
Yeah.
but both of them have to be in tandem so that they can execute the plan. Okay,
Sure.
so that is what my understanding is. Correct.
Yeah, you're
Now,
right.
over here, probably I'll have to replace the customer, but at the end of the day, that is what happens, because the books that we have over there, there's no proper customer to whom they're selling
Yeah,
something,
yeah, yeah, I'm
because there
sure.
is no, the concept of selling and buying. Okay,
Yeah.
so over here, so let's look at these three aspects. So probably the customer could be someone external whom they want to sell a concept. Let's say they want to sell a concept, if not a
Okay.
particular product. They want to sell a concept, or they want them to agree to something what they say. Now, there is this very beautiful conversation. There are two conversations that takes place in Ramayana, and then I'll come back to the strategy part of it. So when in Ramayana, when Sita Maiya was kidnapped, and then when Ravan was killed, and Sita Maiya, Ramji, Lakshman, Hanuman, they all come back to Ayodhya. So once Hanumanji is sitting at the feet of Rama, and Hanumanji tells Ramji that आपको पता है आपसे ज्यादा शक्ति किसमें है, who's more stronger than you.
Okay.
Ramji like totally confused. He's like, who's stronger than me? He said, think hard. There is someone who's stronger than you. So Ramji, out of inquisitiveness, checks with Hanuman. You tell me who's stronger than me. You know. So Hanumanji says, "Aapka naam. Your name is
Ah,
stronger than you." So Ramji is like,
okay.
how can my name be stronger than me? The strength is within me, Hanuman. I've got the physical strength. I got the knowledge. I got the the weapons, the arms, the ammunition, everything I have. So how can my name be stronger than you? It's a very valid question, na.
Perfect.
हनुमान जी सेज that जब आपको जाना था लंका आपको सेतु बनाना पड़ा, मुझे जाना था लंका, मैं तो जय श्री राम कह के चला गया.
Hmm.
अब बताओ ज्यादा शक्ति किस में. So
Hmm.
over here now, this conversation shows the trust the employee has on the manager. That
Hmm.
all I'm doing is I'm taking the leap of faith, because I trust you. I trust your vision. I trust your strategy. I trust everything. I trust you so much that I'm taking the leap of faith. I'm going to some uncharted territory. I have no clue about it, which no one has ever gone. And then he
Hmm.
goes over there. He finds Sita Maiya. He gives the ring to Sita Maiya that was given to Ram by Ramji. He takes, proof from Sita that he has met, and he comes and gives
Hmm.
Ramji. But the beauty is, the plan was that you should go and find where Sita is. That was the plan. All the monkeys went over there. Okay? All the Vanar Sena went over there. Now, when Ramji got to know finally that Sita is in Lanka, okay, the same employee, Hanumanji, the same employee, okay, built that entire bridge. He killed all the demons on the way. He removed all the challenges over there. And he
Yeah.
could finally face the external customer also and get all the information for his manager. So the
Hmm.
point is, if I genuinely tell people that the trust is the most important factor in an employee
Yeah.
and a manager. If your
Yeah.
employee can trust you now, a mediocre plan will also work. But if your employee doesn't trust you, you make a great plan that is going to fail. So
Hmm.
first is the trust factor over here. Now second is empowering. He gave instructions to Hanuman to do what is expected, but he did not restrict Hanuman that in case you find Sita, what to do, what not to do. He just said that just tell her that I'll come. Now how
Ah.
he handled Ravan at that time, पूरे सोने की लंका को आग लगा दी, सब कुछ
Yeah.
करके वापस
Whatever. That
आया.
was up to him.
That was up to him. And then Ramji did not tell him, why did you do that? Because he
Yeah.
trusts his employee that, boss, you are taking a decision. You are there. I am not even there. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that you give freedom to your team members over there. That was, one aspect that helped over
Yeah.
there. Now, second, coming from a strategy perspective, second conversation again took place once, Ramji comes back to Ayodhya. Kaushalya Mata tells Ramji, that I'm very happy. तूने तो
Hmm.
हमारा नाम तीनों लोक में अब प्रसिद्ध कर दिया, सदियों तक लोग हमें याद रखेंगे. अमर हो
Hmm.
गए हम तो तेरी वजह से, क्योंकि तूने रावण का वध कर दिया.
Hmm.
That you have killed Ravan, now we are, we will be remembered till eternity. तो he says, मैंने रावण का वध नहीं किया. आपको किसने कहा मैंने रावण का वध किया? तो कौशल्या माता इज यू नो देन व्हाट आर यू सेइंग. सब लोग कह रहे तूने रावण का वध किया. लक्ष्मण ने कहा, हनुमान ने कहा, विभीषण ने कहा, सीता ने कहा,
Hmm.
सब लोग ने कहा. वो कहते नहीं, मैंने रावण का वध नहीं किया. तो कौशल्या माता पूछती है, अच्छा फिर बताओ किसने किया? वो कहते उसके अहंकार ने उसका वध किया. Now then he explains the entire strategy. He said, first I sent Hanuman, then I sent Angad. Then Vibhishan also told him to send Sita back. Kumbkaran sent Sita back. I gave him multiple opportunities. It is not that I really went there to kill. I gave him a lot of opportunities over there, but he was not ready to listen. So then finally I had to, kill him to get the Sita back. So it is not that Ramji had the intention from start only to go and kill him. He had
Hmm.
various opportunities, various strategies. Sometime to send Hanuman, And then he also had to send Angad. Then you also ensure that what do you call Sugriv also checks with him. He also defeats Ravan and tells him that give it back. So everywhere they had a strategy where the customer can relent and give back. But if you're not listening, then probably I'll get to it. So a lot of time,
Mm.
all the epics now we are highlighted that the war was that
Yeah,
took
the
place.
main thing.
Yeah, but there were a lot of times and there were a lot of various This is a very simple strategy. In Mahabharata, there were very complex strategies. But there was a lot of strategies that were used so that the war does not take place, so that the peace prevails. I don't want to enter your zone, but just give me what is my right. I'm not even
Hmm.
begging. What you have
Hmm.
taken, which is illegal, just give it
Yeah.
to me. So these are just employee and what you call manager conversation when it comes to
Hmm.
strategy. That when you set a strategy, you also need to trust your team members. Probably
Hmm.
it will not go as per what you have decided,
Yeah.
because on the field it's a totally different scenario at times.
Yeah.
Ramji is sitting over there deciding what to do, but probably when Hanuman went over there, the entire scenario changed over there. And you have to trust your team members over
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
give them some liberty to take some decisions over there.
While you were talking, there's something working in my mind when you said name. So
Hmm.
if I just relate it back to the corporate, corporate side, is it also about the brand?
It is. It is.
Yeah, because see, it is not, your boss is telling you you do this and you just go ahead and do it, but it's how powerful is your brand and how you can,
Correct.
take it forward.
Correct, correct. So I'll tell you, we did one session for kids, okay, and we prepared a slide. We give them two options, and their parents were also there. So it was on online. I requested for the particular session that all the parents should be there. It was on Sunday. Roughly around 50, 70 kids were there. So their parents were there. Roughly around 200 people were there. And I showed them two slides. I said, now I'm going to show you kids two slides. You have to discuss with your parents. I'll give you 2 minutes to discuss. And then there was, we were doing it on Zoom. So there was a polling. So you have to select between option A and option B. Okay, whose life would you want to live? Whose life
Okay.
your parents would want you all to live?
Mm.
Okay, so over there, option A, I told them that great dancer, great musician, knowledgeable, from an illustrious family, rich, powerful, successful, glory, a good devotee, okay, and invincible, literally invincible. Okay, so this is option A.
Okay.
Okay, option B, had a very tough life, got separated from, had a divorce, or got separated from his family. He couldn't even attend his father's funeral, and had to live, have to give away all the glory that he had, and had to, had a very challenging life basically. So which one would you want? So they all discussed. I'm not exaggerating, ma'am. 100% people said option A.
Yeah.
100% people said option A. Okay. And then I went to the second slide. I said option A is Ravan, option B is Ram. Now what do you want? Please vote again. 100% people shifted to Rama.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
over there, that the name, the brand, it plays a very, very crucial role. It plays a very,
Yeah.
because that is not only about the, I believe, the success story, but the values the person carries.
Yeah.
It is not only about the pricing, the monetary success the brand has. It's also the values. So it plays down to that. It's a perception that they want to get associated. It plays a very crucial.
Just moving aside a bit, uh, what is the role now? See, like, say for example, there is a company, it could be any company. I'm just, maybe it's a bit dramatic also, but we can take it. Is, just go and capture the market.
Hmm.
That's the message. Okay.
Correct.
Then there's another company which
Hmm.
which actually says that no, our end objective is to, really provide some value to the customer.
Correct.
Now, how, so these are the intents. This is how, the intent of the company is, and that's how it is explained to the people.
Correct.
What is the role that the intention has?
Correct.
Yeah. And how would you relate that, if at all, with what your, study is?
I'll give an example from this is from Mahabharata, and this is a very good question, and it actually explains Mahabharata also at a various level.
Okay.
So when I'm taking sessions, on Mahabharata, I check with people and I ask them that can you name one warrior whom Arjun killed fairly in the, one great warrior whom Arjun killed fairly in the Mahabharata war. you
Okay.
know. So then people would say Bhishma Pitama. I said no, because Bhishma Pitama ke liye Shikhandi nahi khadi thi. They said हाँ correct. Karna, I said he was not having any weapons. They said yes. Jayadratha, sunset happened. So then they think, and they said, sir, no one. I said exactly. I said now who killed those 100 brothers? They said Bhim. Okay.
Hmm.
So now Bhim killed all the 100 brothers. Okay. Now, ma'am, now going back to it, okay, which are the awards that are there in India, on the characters of Mahabharata that you can recall? Can you tell me?
Arjun. Arjuna
Arjuna
Award.
Award and Dronacharya Award. These are the two most
Yeah.
popular awards.
Yeah.
But there are two more awards. There's an 𝗥𝗶𝘀𝗵𝗶 Award, Karnataka State Award, 3 lakh rupees cash prize. There's a Bhim Award, Haryana State Award, 5 lakh. Now,
Okay.
ma'am, coming back to you. Yeah, I'll come back to your question. Now, what happens is, now imagine Bhim is an employee.
Hmm.
And Bhim says, look at my appraisal. I
Yeah.
follow 99% compliance.
Yes.
Only one Duryodhana hit below the thighs, but that is also because he got a boon from Ma Gandhari, and Krishna told me. And look at Arjun, he did not follow any compliance. Still, history has given credit to Arjun. The
Hmm.
name, fame, glory, success, everything is associated with Arjun. Lot of people will, keep their child's name Arjun. Like I have also kept my child's name Parth. I did not keep Bhim. And that
Hmm.
is where the glory went to Arjun. Now think from an employee perspective, how would Bhim feel?
Hmm.
Correct. Now over there, linking to your question, I'll just take a step. I'll just go offside a bit and then link it back. In those 13 year of exile, okay, Karna, on behalf of Duryodhan, went across Bharatvarsh, defeating a lot of kings so that they can be a part of their kingdom. And when the war takes place, they will be participating.
Okay.
So that is where they were spreading. And what was the intention? So that the kings will help them to win a war. And what was the war? To ensure that the Pandavas lose and the Indraprastha and Hastinapur is there with them. It is a very, selfish and individualistic thought process that this is why I want to win. Correct.
Hmm.
Now coming to, so this is from the Kauravas perspective. Now coming to Bhim and Arjun, and that is where I want to draw the line of intention. Now Bhim's only intention during the war was to kill all the 100 sons of Maharaj Dhritarashtra. Why? Because they tried to disrobe Draupadi. So he had taken two oaths very specifically, or three oaths very specifically, where he said that Duryodhan, तूने मेरी द्रौपदी को कहा कि मेरी जांग अपनी जांगों पर आके बैठो, मैं तुम्हारी जांगे तुम्हारी थाइस को I will break it. सेकंड, दुशासन तूने मेरी द्रौपदी के वस्त्र को छुआ, मैं तेरी छाती का लहू निकाल कर पी जाऊंगा और द्रौपदी के केश पे लगाऊंगा. सो आई रिमूव द ब्लड एंड अप्लाई इट ऑन द हेयर ऑफ द्रौपदी एंड ड्रिंक इट. थर्ड, मैं यहाँ पे जितने भी कौरव है उन सबका वध करूंगा. नाउ हिज एंटायर इंटेंशन फॉर द वॉर वॉज to
Revenge.
again fulfill a revenge and fulfill the commitment.
Yeah.
Correct? Everyone in the war, na ma'am, had an intention only to win for a particular reason, and most of the
Hmm.
reasons were selfish. It was individualistic. Now coming to Arjun, it was because I wanted to share the background of first from the
Yeah.
Kauravas perspective, that why what was the intention. Second is within the Pandava camp also, most of the people had a very individualistic approach towards the war. But coming to Arjun now, just before the war, Arjun puts down his weapons and tells Krishna that I do not understand the purpose of this war. Ma'am, so just for our understanding, there were nearly 40 lakh people involved in that war. Nearly 40 lakh people. So when Arjun reached the battlefield, obviously he was aware. But a lot of time,
Hmm.
when you see something, it hits badly. And when
Yeah.
Arjun reached the battlefield, he looked at both sides and then he told Krishna कि इतने सारे योद्धाओं का इस युद्ध में आना एक द्रौपदी के वस्त्र हरण के प्रतिशोध के लिए अनिवार्य है. इज इट इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर सो मेनी पीपल टू कम
Yeah.
just to take revenge for one woman, my wife, Vastraharan, disrobe. So obviously over there, then Krishna starts with the Bhagavad Gita and explains all the point. But there are 3 points I would like to highlight in that Bhagavad Gita. So what happens is when so now coming to Arjun, okay.
Yeah.
So coming to Arjun, what happened with Arjun now? He asked Krishna what is the purpose of this war and all, and obviously Bhagwan Krishna gave all the beautiful knowledge that is called Bhagavad Gita, that is song of God. But not taking a deep dive into Bhagavad Gita, but there are three aspects of Bhagavad Gita that I would like to explain. Now, what happens is, in corporate also, ma'am, when an employee is not ready to execute a task, so the manager will sit and motivate the employee. So there could be a carrot approach, all positive motivation, or there could be a stick approach where fear threat is used. Correct? These two techniques are used. Believe it or not, it is clearly mentioned. Bhagwan Krishna used this in Bhagavad Gita with Arjun and he failed. He tells Arjun initially, when Arjun says that, मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है युद्ध क्यों हो रहा है, you know. So why Arjun got that? So coming to Arjun, why Arjun got the name, fame, glory, success, and that is the intention plays a very crucial role. You know.
Hmm.
So when Arjun asked, Sri Krishna that I don't understand the purpose of this war. the magnitude, the scale of this war, that so many
Yeah.
warriors have to come to take revenge for one girl's vastraran or disrobe. Then, like a typical, in a corporate also, there would be a carrot approach and there would be a stick approach to motivate a person. And Krishna used that with Arjun. Let's see what happens. So first, Krishna tells Arjun that कि तुम क्षत्रिय हो, क्षत्रिय का धर्म है युद्ध करना। अगर तुम युद्ध करोगे, जीत जाओगे, तीनों लोक के राजा कहलाओगे, सदियों तक तुम्हारा नाम होगा। और अगर तुम युद्ध करते करते वीर गति को प्राप्त हो गए तो मैं तुम्हें स्वर्ग ले जाऊंगा। मतलब अल्टीमेट लेवल ऑफ मोटिवेशन। बट अर्जुन सेज दैट मैं स्वर्ग को त्यागता हूं, परंतु मैं पितामह महामहिम भीष्म, गुरु द्रोणाचार्य, कुल गुरु कृपाचार्य से युद्ध नहीं कर सकता। आई कैनॉट फाइट विद माई फैमिली फॉर स्वर्ग। आई डोंट वांट टू गो टू हेवन। So now when Krishna realized that, okay, positive motivation is not working, carrot is not working, let me go towards the stick. So he says, अगर तुम युद्ध नहीं करोगे तो ये सदियों तक तुम्हारी निंदा होगी, ये लोग ही तुम्हारा वध कर देंगे, तुम्हें एक दरिद्र की जिंदगी जीना पड़ेगा और तुम्हें नर्क जाना पड़ेगा। तो अर्जुन सेड कि मैं नर्क को अपनाता हूं, परंतु मैं युद्ध नहीं कर सकता। Now just imagine there's an employee in your organization.
Yeah.
You are telling
Not,
that
no carrot, no stick.
you're telling the person, I'll give you a promotion. I don't want. I'll remove you from job. Remove now. It's very tough to handle that employee. It's genuinely very tough. So then the entire Bhagavad Gita comes, and during that Bhagavad Gita, Krishna Bhagwan makes Arjun realize, where he tells him that अर्जुन, तुम ये युद्ध का पर्पस समझ ही नहीं रहे हो। ये एक द्रौपदी के वस्त्र हरण के लिए नहीं है। तुम ये समझो कि अगर एक हस्तिनापुर का युवराज इंद्रप्रस्थ की रानी के हस्तिनापुर के दरबार में वस्त्र हरण करने की कोशिश कर सकता है, वो युवराज जब यहाँ का राजा बन जाएगा तो क्या होगा? When this prince who's trying to disrobe a queen in his palace, if the prince becomes a king over here, what will happen? और ये जो निर्णय अब तुम लोगे, ये ऐतिहासिक निर्णय, ऐतिहासिक पल है अर्जुन। इतिहास तुम्हें आज से इस निर्णय की वजह से याद रखेगा। अगर तुम शस्त्र नहीं उठाते हो और आगे जाके अगर कोई द्रौपदी के वस्त्र हरण करने की कोशिश करता है, दुर्योधन कोई, और द्रौपदी जाके अपने पति को कहती है कि देखो मुझे एक दुर्योधन छेड़ रहा है, तो पति कहेगा मैं क्या कर सकता हूं, अर्जुन कुछ नहीं कर पाया था। और अगर तुम शस्त्र उठाते हो अर्जुन, तो आगे आने वाले हर दुर्योधन के मन में यह होगा कि अर्जुन आज नहीं तो कल शस्त्र अवश्य उठाएगा। So when Arjun realized that this war is not only for Draupadi, is not only for his family, it's not only for his kingdom, but it's for
For the
thousands and
larger good.
thousands of girls in
Yeah.
his era, and it's a context setting for millions of years to come. His intention was not only to kill Duryodhan to take revenge for his wife, but it became context setting. And his intention was now beyond the material world at that time, and that is the reason now he's so renowned, he's so successful, and people always look up to Arjun. That is the
Because he
reason.
took a principled decision,
Correct.
actually. It was not a, person decision.
Correct.
As I say, it's not a personal decision, it's a decision for the larger good
Correct.
and with a positive intent.
Correct. So
So that's important. Yes.
yeah, and even in the war, now there were times that he did not agree with Krishna what was happening. The way they were supposed to, injure Mahamahim Bhishma, or the way they were supposed to kill Guru Drona, or the way they were supposed to kill Karna or Jayadratha. But he still did it because he realized that it is good for the organization. It is
Yeah.
good for years and years for people to come, that if you stand for something that you believe in, which is true and which is good for humanity, probably you'll have to take some deviation. So intention matters a lot over there. Everything
Yes.
boils down to the intention. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so as the popular, 21st century models go, this is similar to golden circle. Bigger the
Hmm.
why, easier the how. Start with the why. So Arjun also, before the war start, why this war is taking place. So he started the
Yeah.
war with the why. Then it could be the Muhammad Ali, the great boxer, said, the will needs to be stronger than the skill to be successful in life. Where there is a will, there is a way. So all these things are boiled down to that moment of interaction between Sri Krishna and Arjun. They started with the why, and Krishna
Yeah.
built on the intention part of it rather than getting
Hmm.
into the material aspect of it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the reason.
Yeah. Very,
So
very interesting. I think, anyway, eventually we all know that having a good intention is, I think, the foundation and the base of
yes,
everything that we do. Because
yes,
I think even if you are on the, wrong side, it doesn't last long. I don't know if there are things that really last that long, and particularly in a corporate scenario, because what really happens is it's not the end person who gets affected, it is also the people along the way who actually make it happen. So it
Correct.
eventually impacts everybody.
Yes, yes, yes. And I'll give you an example for this. I'll give you an example
Yeah.
for this. There's this grid which we have prepared in a book break in a book break your leadership chakra review, where we have said that there would be two kind of people. One for whom organization goals are more important than individual goals.
Okay.
Second is a person who believes individual goals are more important than organization goals.
Okay.
Now, there would be two more people, let's say, for example, for whom following the compliance audit, is the thing that I will not break any compliance. I'll follow all the rules, protocols, everything that has been told.
Yeah.
Fourth would be a person who will take deviation from the compliance and rules and regulation. So let's say, so not two, there are sorry, four people. Now let's say look at the first person for whom rules and regulations are the thing, okay, they will not break. And for them, organization goals are more important than the individual goal. Those people are someone like Ramji and Sita. They understood that we will have to suffer, but the organization Ayodhya will always see prosperity. And they did not break any rules and regulation. Therefore,
Hmm.
Bhagwan Ram is
Maryada
also called a Maryada
Purushottam.
Purushottam. Whatever happens, he'll stick to the rule that has been given, and somehow
Yeah.
he'll work it around. But for him, Ayodhya was more important you know
Hmm.
but today honestly following that is very tough. So coming to the next one, where someone believes that organization is more important than individual, but I can take deviations. The intention here to take a deviation from the rules, the protocols, is to ensure that the organization gets prosperity, not individual. Those are
Yeah.
Krishna. Those people are Krishna. Those people are Draupadi. They will take deviation. So Krishna will make Shikhandini stand, Jayadratha, sunset drama, all those things. But it's for the organization. He did not become the king of Hastinapur. He did not become the king of Indraprasth. Yudhishthir became. But he did it for the organization. He came up with all the deviation for someone else, not for himself.
Hmm.
Now the third and fourth are interesting. So for someone who believes individual goal is more important than the organization, but they will stick to the rules, okay, or probably they will justify their acts by picking up one rule that favors them. Those
Hmm.
people are someone like Duryodhan or Kaikai, from Ramayana. What Duryodhan
Yeah.
did when he was said that what you have done with Draupadi is wrong, he said, okay, I'm wrong, but why did Yudhishthir place her on bet? I won a fair and square, now it is my right. मैं राजा का बड़ा बेटा, मेरा हक बनता है. He will pick one point, one rule which is in his favor, and then he
Hmm.
will try to justify all his act. Then Kaikai also, a beautiful queen, wonderful warrior, great. Entire life she was, taking care of Kaushalya, Sumitra Mata, Maharaj Dashrath. But when it came to Bharat, she used her two, commitment from, what he called promises of Dashrath. He
Promises.
said that
Yeah.
one Ram will go for an exile and you'll make Bharat. Individual is now more important than organization.
Hmm.
Fourth, individual is more important. I don't care of any deviation, rules and regulation. Those people are Ravan, Shupnaka, or Shakuni. For them, now they just look at themselves. Your wife, my wife. They are not interested in anything else. They will not believe. Now, what happens is,
Hmm.
as you rightly said, there will be challenges when you're thinking about the organization. There would be
Yeah.
challenges. There will be a lot of sacrifice the person will have to make. But eventually, the organization will survive. When the organization survives, the individual will survive. Now, when it comes to individualistic thought process people, probably they'll see glamour till a certain point, but
Hmm.
eventually the downfall will be there. सोने की लंका थी, रावण का वध हो गया, एंड में तो विभीषण अमर हो गया. यहाँ पे 12-13 साल ये जो थे 13 years पांडव जंगल में थे, बट उसके बाद 36 years उनका नाम हो गया. So eventually, if you have individualistic thought process, intention, where you don't care about your, let's say, your clients, or where you don't care about your organization, probably it will hit back. So in sales
Yeah.
also now there's a dilemma. Whose side will
Actually,
you
in fact, I wanted to ask you because, in the overall view of things, of course, there are quite a few changes now, but sales is known to be of a certain type, okay?
correct?
So, where the salesperson goes and, this is all salespeople are not like
Correct.
that, but the association is that they
Correct.
will overpromise, they want to achieve their targets.
Correct.
There is all this kind of josh around it. It's like,
Correct.
there's a glamour around sales.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
a different type. Now, you just tell me, where does that fit into mythology?
Correct. So what happens is, the ma'am, what kind of legacy you want to create for yourself, that plays a very crucial role.
Okay.
I come from, I'll give you my example. And honestly, I'll tell you, there's something called bluff, that plays a very crucial role in sales. And I had just started my career at that time, and this, honestly, this happened. I'm not exaggerating. So I started my career. So one day, and in month ends are very high pressure in banking, where you need to get the disbursement kit, from the customer, so that your numbers are counted and all those things takes place. So it was like, one day to month end, and the customer called me. He said, Rishi, your executive is there sitting in front of me, is asking for the disbursement kit. Okay. And but he's saying that the disbursement will take at least 3 to 4 days. So if it's going to take 3 to 4 days, now I'm not interested to take the loan. I need the money tomorrow. So I said, sir, don't worry, I'm there now. You don't need to worry, sir. I have spoken to everyone at the back end. You give him the disbursement kit, I'll ensure you'll get it. So he said, Pakka na. I said, yeah, pakka sir. And I kept the phone. It was my second or third month, in my corporate life. My manager overheard this. She said, hey, what did you commit? I said, ma'am, the loan you'll get it tomorrow. She said, will the customer get? I said, no. She said, when will the customer get? I said, after 3 to 4 days. She said, then what will you do for 3 to 4 days? I said, I'll not pick up the phone. She said, what are you talking? I said, but this is what I've learned. She said, who taught you all these things? Mala, this is my observation. I don't want to get into who taught. She said, no, do one thing. You call the customer right now in front of me. You tell the customer that I'm going to try my level best to disburse the loan tomorrow. But in case you want to give commitment to someone, please tell them after 3 to 4 days. He said that, be very clear with the customer. I said, ma'am, he will not give the disbursement. She said, irrespective, you're going to learn a lesson right now. You have to call the customer in front of me. I called the customer. Customer went on silent for a moment. He said, I appreciate you telling me the truth, Rishi. I'll hand over the check, but try for tomorrow. Okay. If not, day after tomorrow. Now, over there, now, ma'am explained me later. She said, what happens, now, Rishi, especially in the asset side, in the loan side, when you commit a disbursement to a customer, based on your commitment, the customer is committing to someone else ahead.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now what is happening is, because you cannot handle that moment, that one moment where you don't have the courage to say truth, you are going to add pressure and stress on yourself. And eventually these people will never give you referral business in the long run. And eventually you will run out of business. So over there, you'll probably, every customer will not hand over the check to you. Probably some customers will also say, okay, I'm not giving. But whenever that customer wants an honest salesperson, another person will come to you only. So what happens is, over there the legacy plays a crucial role. Therefore I told you, रावण भी है, राम भी है. आपको कौन सी legacy चाहिए वो आप decide करो. Glory दोनों जगह आई थी. एक को मरते हुए आई, एक को हमेशा के लिए आई. तो that builds up to you. So that is a
Yeah.
call that you have to take. But I also tell, ma'am, it's impossible for a person to become Rama all the time. It's impossible for a person to become Krishna all the time. It's impossible to become Duryodhana and Ravan also. We keep
Yeah.
circulating between those four people all the time, or
And
those
there are
four.
many variables. I think,
Yes.
that's the other thing. Nobody, in fact, none of us live in a very ideal scenario, and we are taking care of many requirements.
Correct.
So what really happens is that even with the best of intentions, sometimes you do take a call based
Correct.
on how the situation and circumstances are.
Correct.
I think that's yeah,
Correct.
that's the way it is. But I think at the end of it, first of all, a story is not just a story, whatever it might be, whether you believe or you don't believe. The learnings of the story are what one needs to actually think about. That's one understanding that I got. The second thing is that any action that you do
Hmm.
has its consequences,
Correct.
and you have to face them sooner or later. Or and in the commercial world, in a transactional world, they're very direct. I mean,
Correct.
they'll come up much sooner than in the
Correct.
what do you call it,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
spiritual world, or what do you call it, canvas.
Correct.
So I think the consciousness that what you're doing today, what is the kind of impact it will have going forward, the impact it will have on you, the impact it will have on the company, the impact it will have on the world in general.
So I
Yeah.
always tell people that 80% probably be on the organization side, probably Pareto principle will come. But if it's
Yeah.
30-40% your individualist, your career is going to go for a doom. So these
Yeah.
stories just help us to introspect, understand. So whenever there's a dilemma in any decision, taking, I always tell, think of the organization. Whatever is good for the organization, good for you. Don't think about yourself all the time. Sometimes you will also have to
Yeah.
sacrifice.
You have
Sometimes
to
the
think,
adjustment
yes.
will take place. Yeah, but you cannot just be too much individualistic about it.
Hmm. And
So
there is no, as you're saying, that there is no straight right path.
yeah,
It is like you will be different people at different points of time,
yes, yes,
depending upon where you are. We even come across that in, while serving the customer, or when you're talking about it. See, sometimes the employee who's not able to carry on a good conversation, you know you don't put the person there to deal with the customer. You need to take that decision. So maybe in that mode your role is different.
correct, correct, correct.
At the same time, some customer, you don't want to have a relationship with a particular customer. You'll take steps to say that, okay, no, look, our paths are different, and let it be that. Going to the depth of understanding and not just understanding things superficially is what you're.
And as I said, that when we say the story, it's up to you what you want to do. We are not saying right or wrong, because every person is right from their perspective. So every
Yeah.
person is right. So we don't get into that argument, but it gives a good insight. A lot of people have told us that we were doing this, but now we think that probably we should change our actions towards it a little bit and all. So it comes even in managerial workshop. We take a lot of references from various other god and goddesses and put it across. So what kind of legacy you want to leave? Finally, what do you want to do? That is what your
Yeah,
call.
in leadership trainings, I think that's very critical. In
Yes,
the legacy piece is very critical. What is it
legacy.
that you want to leave?
Correct.
So can
Legacy.
you tell us? Can you share some, one of your best stories, and that really connects? And you must be, all of us have, one of them or two of them which are our favorite, and we love to relate those stories.
So I'll tell you, I'll share two short stories. These are genuinely my
Yeah.
favorite, and it's for everyone, not only for leaders. It's one thing, one story. It goes something like this: that in Ramayana, what happened is, when Guru Vishwamitra goes to Maharaj Dashrath and tells that मुझे राम की आवश्यकता है ताड़का का वध करने के लिए. So Tarka was a Divinus and a very powerful Divinus, and a lot of people were scared of her. And she was a great warrior. She used to kill everyone who's there in front of her. Now, at that time, Ramji was, 15, 16 years old. So just imagine someone is coming to you. Let's say FBI comes to you from US and tells, "Okay, ma'am, I want your son so that he can kill an international terrorist." So you like, why my son? Why are you
Hmm.
asking, So obviously, so Maharaj Dashrath also said कि, राम अभी बच्चा है गुरुदेव, आपको चाहिए, मैं चलता हूँ, मेरी पूरी सेना चलती है, हम ताड़का का वध करके आएंगे. तो गुरु विश्वामित्र से, मुझे सिर्फ और सिर्फ राम की आवश्यकता है. अगर तुम राम दे सकते हो तो कह दो राम दे सकते हो, वरना मैं यहाँ से चला. Up, it was getting a heated argument over there, and then Maharaj Dashrath's Kul Guru, Guru Vashisht says that Maharaj Dashrath, आप राम को जाने दो. विश्वामित्र जो है वो बहुत पहले एक बहुत बड़े वॉरियर भी थे. वो खुद ही ताड़का का वध कर सकते हैं, बट ये उनको बहुत अच्छी ट्रेनिंग मिल जाएगी राम को. राम को कुछ नहीं होगा, अब राम को जाने दो. सो फाइनली ही एग्रीज. नाउ महाराज दशरथ टेल्स गुरु विश्वामित्र कि आप जाके कक्ष में बैठी, मैं राम को भेजता हूँ. ठीक है. Now he goes over there, and then he tells Ram to go and meet Guru Vishwamitra. Now Guru Vishwamitra is sitting inside the room. They have not met till now. Guru Vishwamitra has not met Ram till now. Ramji is outside the room. Okay. Ramji knocks on the door and says, क्या मैं अंदर आ सकता हूँ? And Guru Vishwamitra asked, कौन है? Correct. So when I ask, let's say I'll ask you. So if you are in this situation, you're standing outside the room. Guru Vishwamitra is sitting inside, and you are Rama. Then how? What will you say? Who are you? आप क्या
Your
बोलोगे? आपको.
name. Your name.
So कोई तो ऑडियंस भी यही कहती है कि मैं
Yeah.
कहूँगा राम हूँ, या फिर कोई मैं दशरथ नंदन हूँ, मैं अयोध्या का
So and
राजकुमार हूँ.
so son or so and so's
सब.
wife or
Correct.
whatever. Yeah. Okay.
So
So
what he
or
said?
your own name.
हाँ, correct. So what
Yeah.
he said? राम जी said, बोलते यही हम जानने हैं गुरुदेव हम कौन है. And Guru is
Okay.
sitting inside and said, Ram aa gaya. And he says, Ram andar aa jao. Now, this small conversation, I always tell people that, वो राम जी थे, उन्हें ना अपना डेजिग्नेशन, ना अपना नेम, ना अपनी हिस्ट्री, ना अपने क्रेडेंशियल्स, ना अपने पैसे का घमंड था. और यहाँ पे हम लोग एक डेजिग्नेटेड कार्ड को लेके घूम के कहते हैं मैं वीपी हूँ, मैं सीईओ हूँ, मैं चेयरमैन हूँ, मैं ये हूँ. The moment you understand this now, and the moment you become humble, that is where your first step towards great leadership comes. You
Hmm.
can achieve everything, but you have to be humble at the end of the day. May honestly, when someone tells anything to me that you did this good, anything, I always say grace of God, and because I realize that Ramji had no arrogance. What have I achieved in compared to him? Nothing. So what can,
Yeah.
how can I take my name, my designation, my growth, my career, my fame, my success, my money seriously? I cannot take, because Rama could not take it. I think for every person on this planet, you have to be humble. The more humble you are, people will, more support. Like when we look up to Sir Ratan Tata, when we look up to Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, all these people were very humble, and we all used to look up to them. They were great in their field, but probably I don't know what, I'm just saying as a metaphor term, huh? Probably a child doesn't know what Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam has done in his life, but because the way they have seen him interact, and his humbleness is what attracts people. So I genuinely tell people, this is something that you have to do.
Mm.
You genuinely have to do. So that is one aspect. uh,
Yeah.
Second is the ma'am, coming, from, it could be from a parental perspective, it could be from an entrepreneur perspective, it could be from a leader perspective. So this is the first chapter of a book where we dedicated, there are three phases of a leader, or there could be, three phases of, let's say, parenting also. So we'll connect it later, but let's stick to leadership. There are three phases of a leader. And over there, before I take a deep dive, one thing, let me ask, like, if the listeners are aware, so there are three main gods. There is a trinity: Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. Correct? So
Yeah.
अगर आप देखेंगे, ब्रह्मा is the creator, Vishnu is the processor, and Shiva is the destructor of evil, vices, greed,
Yeah.
lust, hunger, and all. So technically that means Brahma is my father. Brahma ji has created me. Correct? But if you look at
Yeah.
the irony, no one prays to Brahma ji.
Yeah.
ब्रह्मा जी की एक ही मंदिर है पुष्कर, राजस्थान में. ब्रह्मा जी की तो मूर्तियां भी नहीं होती है घर में. तो जिसने मुझे पैदा किया, जिसने मुझे जीवन दिया, जिसने मुझे बनाया, वो क्रिएटर को, जिसने पूरी दुनिया बनाई, हम लोग उनको पूछते ही नहीं है. बट वी ऑलवेज
Mm.
प्रे मोर टू विष्णु, एंड वी ऑलवेज प्रे मोर टू शिवा. Now, what is the reason behind that? There's a very beautiful story, and if one can understand this now, I'm sure it will help a person to grow a lot in any aspect of life. Once,
Okay.
when Brahmaji created the entire world, okay, and he was very happy with what he created. He was genuinely very happy, and then he came out of the navel of Vishnu, Bhagwan. And then one day Brahmaji is telling Vishnu, I'm a greater god than you. Now Vishnu is like, where is this coming from? God is God. What do you mean greater God? Superior and all. So he's like, how come you can say that? He said, because I created the world. Vishnu is like, "Arey, you created the world, but I'm processing the world." He said, no, no, irrespective. I created the world. So Vishnu said, if creation is the benchmark you're saying, so you came out of me. So that means I am your creator. So that means I'm superior to you. He said, no, no, you're not getting. Now they get into the argument, which gets into a huge fight. And when they were fighting now, and there was a light that comes between them. And from that light, Shiva walks out. And he hears the entire, whatever situation over there. And then he says, okay, whoever finds the end of this light and comes to me first now, that God will be a superior God. That will decide. So there is a test now. So Brahma ji goes towards the south, Vishnu ji goes towards the north. They go for years and years and years. सदियों के लिए चले जाते हैं, and Vishnu ji realizes there's no end of the light. So he comes back and tells Shiva that I couldn't find the end of light. Probably if Brahma ji finds, I will accept him as a superior god. But I think there is no end to this light, and I accept my defeat. So Shivji is sitting with Vishnuji. But now Brahmaji is also not able to find the end of the light. But now he has created such a ruckus. He has created such a fight
Yeah.
because he wanted that glory. So then what happens is he finds Ketki flowers over there. And then he tells
Mm.
Ketki flowers that, I will go up to Shiva and I'll tell that I found you at the end of the light and this is the reward. So when we go up, so Shiva will declare me as a superior god. I will declare you as a superior flower. So let's go. So Ketki also agreed. Now when they come back, and then Brahmaji tells, both of them, see, I found Ketki at the end of the line. So Vishnu was
Mm.
surprised, but Vishnu said, okay, I'll accept. And humbly enough, Vishnu started accepting. That moment, Bhagwan Shiv gets upset and he says, के कैसा भगवान है तू? एक तो तू झूठ बोलता है, ऊपर से दूसरों से भी झूठ बुलवाता है, सिर्फ यही साबित करने के लिए कि तू प्रथम है, कि तू सिद्ध है. इसलिए मैं तुझे ये श्राप देता हूं कि आज से तेरी कोई भी पूजा नहीं करेगा. Why?
Acha.
Because over there, now look at these three kinds of leaders. What happens is, you look at Brahmaji. Brahmaji came out of the navel of Vishnu. So technically, Brahmaji is younger than Vishnu. Correct? But if you see
Yeah.
any photo of Lord Brahmana, he is always old. But if you see any photo
Mm.
of Vishnuji and Shivji, now they are young.
Mm.
The first phase is Brahma, which is an insecure phase. where the leader wants that you have to respect me because of my designation, because of the work I've done. They are not earning the respect, they are commanding the respect. And what happens is, because of his ego, that you have to respect me, you know, he's all bit of negativity in him. He's growing old,
Yeah.
there's stress, because he wants people to come up to him. Second
Hmm.
is Vishnu. Okay, Vishnu is the most secured. He will give the
Hmm.
entire Bhagavad Gita ka gyan. There is no copyright. He did not get into that copyright act also. Intellectual
Yeah.
property, copyright. Let me tell you, Arjun. He was aware Arjun is listening. He was aware Maharishi
Hmm.
Vedvyas is listening. He was aware Sanjay is
Hmm.
listening. And he was aware coming hundreds and thousands of years, people are going to talk about Bhagavad Gita. I
Hmm.
also talk about Bhagavad Gita. But he knows at the end of the day, everyone will be aware that this is my knowledge without me telling everyone. And it's okay if other
Hmm.
person is growing. I've got no problem over that.
Yeah.
Third is Shivji, content.
Hmm.
If you see, Shivji is not wearing, all those beautiful clothes like Brahmaji or Vishnuji. He's content with whatever he has. He has got, control over his hunger, his desires, his lust. But he's always accessible to all his people.
Yeah.
And if you see of all the gods now, whenever I take a name, let's say Lakshmi Mata, Saraswati Mata, Durga Mata, Ramji, Krishna Ji, an image will come to your mind. But in
Yeah.
Shivji, there are two things that will take place. An image will come to your mind, and a symbol that's called a Shivling will also come to your mind. Shiva is the
Hmm.
only god who has got a symbol that represents him, because he wants his devotees or his followers or his team members to connect with him the way they want. He is not having a hard and
Yeah.
fast. If
Yeah.
you, I connect with you the way you want, because for me to
Hmm.
satisfy you, your kill your desire, your lust, your greed is more important. You can come to me, you can visualize me the way you want. Now what happens is, there's
Hmm.
an insecure phase, then there's a secure phase, there's a content phase that will come, and we all will
Yeah.
go through these phases. Now whenever,
Hmm.
let's say, anyone gets promoted as a first time manager, that person will be insecure. So how do you
Yeah.
move from that insecurity phase? By first accepting reality, that this company will work without you also.
Hmm.
These clients will be with this company without you also. You are part
Yeah.
of a system. If you have got a client, that's nothing. You're paid money for it. You have to accept reality that things are beyond you. Then the only way
Hmm.
to move on is by sharing your knowledge and experience, and then you become to the Vishnu phase. That is where you get
Hmm.
secured. If you
Yeah.
start being insecure, "Arey, if I groom this person will take my place," 100% that person will get promoted, either in your company or other company. So either you
Right.
groom a good employee in your organization and make your organization a greater organization, or you ensure the person joins your competitor, then you have to face that person. So that
Yeah.
is the Brahma phase. Vishnu is very secure, ट्रेनिंग, टीचिंग, कोचिंग, मेंटरिंग, अलग अलग अवतार आते हैं उनके अलग अलग कस्टमर के लिए, अलग अलग डीमन के लिए. कभी वो राम बन
Hmm.
के आए, कभी परशुराम बन के आए, कभी वामन बन के आए, कभी वो फिश बन के आए, कभी बोर बन के आए, कभी बुद्ध बन के आए, कभी कालकी बन के आए. जैसा उनके सामने सिचुएशन है, वैसे वो अपने आप को प्रेजेंट करते हैं. इज वेरी सिक्योर ओवर देयर. Then comes
Hmm.
your, and how do you move from a secure to a content? In secure, probably your name is getting glorified, you are getting involved. But
Yeah.
content is when you're working for different stakeholders. शिव जी को भूख नहीं लगती है, फिर भी शिव जी अन्नपूर्णा माता के सामने खाना लेते हैं. वो इसके लिए लेते हैं क्योंकि उनको पता है कि मुझे भूख नहीं है, परंतु मेरे परिवार, मेरे गणों को, मेरे भक्त जनों को, मेरे स्टेक होल्डर्स को तो भूख है. आई हैव बीन टू लेट्स से स्विट्जरलैंड, आई बीन टू ऑस्ट्रेलिया, आई डोंट वांट टू विन दिस कॉन्टेस्ट. That's okay, but my team members have that desire. So I have to
Yeah.
work for my team members. I have to work for
Yeah.
the stakeholders' return on equity. I have to work for them. And when I work for someone else, I'm at peace, I'm content, and people will be feeling more secure to come up to.
Hmm.
Same goes in
Yeah.
parenting. Like when I had a child, I was very insecure. कुछ हो नहीं जाए, नीचे जाना है. But then you start sharing knowledge, you start sharing your experience.
Hmm.
When you have that confidence, your child will come back to you. Nothing is. Then you have secure. And when you
Yeah.
become a father-in-law or a mother-in-law, when you've done anything, you take a step back. You're content that you have done everything.
Yeah.
You're still
Yeah.
accessible. Then
Hmm.
I've seen my father. The way he connects.
Maximum accessibility
Yeah,
when you're at that
the
stage.
way
You're
you
right.
want. Today he will
Yes.
write poetries. Today he'll say, sit with us, crack jokes, watch TV, go down, play with children and all. Now he's connecting with them when the way everyone wants in the family. But probably during his processing, जब वो दुनिया चला रहे
Hmm.
थे, घर चला रहे, अभी भी चलाते, परंतु यू गॉट द पॉइंट, राइट? द मेजर पार्ट वो चला रहे थे, उनके पास टाइम ही नहीं था। ही वाज़ अ
Yeah.
प्रॉब्लम सॉल्वर एट दैट टाइम। So
Hmm.
insecurity, problem solving, and content. That is how it works, you know. So I always tell people,
Yeah.
just keep this in mind. Very quickly shift from there, because there's nothing much you can do.
So
What do you think?
basically, just to conclude, what you're saying is that there are different roles and there are different time at which different roles get picked up,
Correct.
and there is no absoluteness in that, in the sense that it's not that you can only be this from this year to this year, then you
No.
move here, then you move away. You are, I think, parallelly doing and performing lots of roles,
Correct.
and I mean it's a complete
It's a
uh, thing that you need to do. You can't just do it in parts. Yeah,
So
very
let's say,
nice.
ma'am, when you also started as an entrepreneur, how much of a experience? Initially, insecurities are always there.
Of course,
Once you
of course.
settle down, then you feel content. You know, so this goes
Yeah.
parallelly. A person who's a first-time manager, when he becomes a, let's say, regional manager for the first time, again he'll become insecure. How
That's
much ever
true.
secure he was as the area manager, he'll become insecure as a regional manager. As you
Yeah.
rightly said, but this gives a solution. How do you get out of it? So
Yeah.
this is like, once you're insecure, understand it's only when you start sharing people, caring people, you're a problem solver. You move from a Brahma to a Vishnu. When you're doing it for people, understand your stakeholder the expectation, and you start
Hmm.
fulfilling the stakeholder the expectation, then you're content, then you're sorted. So
Yeah.
it goes on parallelly, but it is all about stakeholder management and your
It's
self
a
management.
circle.
It's
It's
a
a
circle.
circle, and you keep doing, this
Yes.
again and again. Very
Yes.
interesting. So, we've had a very interesting conversation, and the more important thing which I'm finding is that it's not just about reading, and it's not something which is superficial, mythology or any other book that you read for that matter. I mean, whoever you follow, it's what we understand out of it and the wisdom that we derive out of it, which we can apply. Thank you, Rishi, for your time, for sharing what you passionately believe in,
Thank you.
and let's hope we do some second session with some specific questions for which we will answers from you. Yeah.
Thank you. Sure, ma'am.
Thank you.